Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you like this watch, you can see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we stand in the presence of a legend, the roughly 9-month Patek Philippe 5960 1A-010. Quite literally made for 9 months during 2017. This is one of the shortest lived modern Patek Philippe sports watches, as the black dial variant seen here was launched at Basel, discontinued by the fall. As a result, think of Patek making only 20% of its watches in steel, most of those being the late Ace 24, the minority being the Nautilus and the Aquanaut, and the distinct minority being the black dial 5961A. Remember, there was also a white dial model, so you can really see the diminishing circle of possibility for outright production of this watch. It becomes a smaller and smaller portion of that steel production, and with a brief production run, this watch is already a legend. The timepiece is easy to wear. 40.5 millimeters in diameter and reasonably slim at 13.8. It will slide underneath the cuff. You can see it would pose no challenge to my sleeve right here. Lug-to-lug, a very reasonable 49.4 millimeters, and even with the solid end links of the bracelet extending only to 51. The spacing between the lugs 21 millimeters and the bracelet quite silken. Roughly on par with the wrist feel of the Nautilus bracelet, and far more comfortable than the bulky and somewhat ungainly Aquanaut bracelet. Those are rarely seen, but not nearly as comfortable or as fluid as this. As you can see, 5 links, all polished with big gaps to vent the wrist and avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. Pin sleeve sizing, so it'll be a bit of a pain for your watchmaker to size it, but once sized, these things do stay put. Clamshell security, so when you close it, it stays locked on the wrist, and though clamshells are simple mechanisms, no expense was spared here, as Patek Philippe used spring-loaded pin snaps to ensure that the tolerances are maintained over time. Also, look at the arc and the polish of that clasp interior to trace the curve of the underside of your wrist. A little bit of yin and yang here, with the case being sensuous, sinuous, fluid, compound curved, a little bit feminine. And as you can see, elements to pair the visual mass, such as the inward step of the bezel and the fact that the bezel is concave. The lugs wonderfully tapered, graceful, and arced. The case has a gorgeous vaulted profile to it. Now, it's the dial where you find the masculine side of this watch, rather than the original 5961A, which some compared uncharitably to a French mime. This one's a little bit harder hitting. I like both versions of the watch, but there's no doubt this is the more imposing of the two dial options. Matte black base, white on black printing, a raised metallic seconds and minutes track outboard. If you're familiar with the earlier precious metal versions of this watch, you're probably familiar with the spare indices and the foy or leaf style hands. This one and the new white gold model are a little bit more robust, with dial features that are larger, chunkier, easier to read at a glance. So you get more of a sporting aesthetic. You also have the mono counter still present. At its base, there's an AM/PM indicator in blue and white. It's blue right now, so we're in the midst of the night, the period when you don't want to try to use the quick setting pushers on the case flank. To adjust the annual calendar system at 12 o'clock, adjust it only once per year. The jump from February to March, that's the advantage of an annual calendar. You'll note inside the mono counter you have chronograph, minutes as well as hours, and it is a flyback chronograph. Also, the 55-hour power reserve traced by a power reserve indicator at 12 o'clock. If you do have a complex calendar, it's always nice to know how close it is to winding down, in case you ever need to give it a little bit of a manual winding push. Furthermore, important to note that while this watch does not have a constant seconds hand, and it does not feature a hacking seconds function, the vertical clutch system inherent to the chronograph architecture allows you to leave the chronograph running full-time with no additional wear, tear, or hazard to the movement. So not only does that give you the animated center seconds, easy to read, and keeping the dial moving rather than dead, but you have a flyback functionality, so though the watch doesn't hack, you can always use the flyback function of the chronograph to synchronize your watch precisely to the hour, minute, and second, despite the fact that it doesn't have a constant seconds hand, and technically it doesn't have a hacking function. You can nevertheless derive both from the architecture of the chronograph. Turn it all over and you can see where the money was spent on the interior of this watch. Let me see if I might open up this clasp and give us a bit more light, a bit more focus, and get a bit closer to enjoy the caliber. CH 28520. 40 joules automatic winding. It features a column wheel and vertical clutch system for the chronograph, so the chronograph is crisp to actuate thanks to the column wheel, and the vertical clutch benefits we already discussed, but you can keep the chronograph running and there's no stagger or jump to the seconds hand. The balance beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It is a free-sprung gyromax system, and it allows the watch to be precisely regulated in 6 positions, better than the chronometer 5. It's adjusted in 6. The gyromax allowing it to be regulated precisely, but also allowing it to hold on to that precise regulation in the face of bumps and disruptions on the wrist. The hairspring anti-magnetic Silinvar silicon, and the materials revolution continues at center, where the gold winding mass features unlubricated fired ceramic rotor bearings for higher winding efficiency and reduced maintenance requirements. The architecture also employs a unidirectional winding system so that you have a more efficient system on the wrist. In practice, unidirectional has been proved more robust than bidirectional for winding your watch. 45 to 55 hour power reserve, beautifully finished, the standards that were once known as Geneva hallmark at Patek. Today it bears the Patek Philippe seal, but rest assured the standard is the same as the Geneva hallmark. There has been no reduction in quality, no corner cutting. Though the standard might reek of the fox guarding the henhouse, I've examined these at the micrometric level. They do not disappoint. 40 jewels, a modern architecture. The CH 28520 bowed in 2006 on the original 5960 and the Nautilus 5980, and it was Patek Philippe's first ever in-house automatic winding chronograph caliber, absolutely loaded with features inside and out, plus the ultimate feature, rarity. You can see and you can own this one on the watch box. And we're back with the bright and legible Patek Philippe 5960 1A, big and black by day, all green by night. 30 meters water resistant, so it's not an aquatic sports watch, but in every other respect. Sporty black dial, steel case, automatic winding, and plenty of lume. You can see this annual calendar flyback chronograph and make it yours on the watch box.